Before, when parity didn't exist, that's all we wanted. Now we have it, but we cracked open 14 other problems because he played terrible. Was playing like this, I guess. Just one giant, giant face that's not there anymore. Georgia wins. All right, folks, welcome back. Have good sporting. I'm not sure what episode this is. Perhaps 61, and I probably sound terrible. I am slightly under the weather, but that is neither here nor there. I'm more so sick of the 12-team playoff. Yeah, I said it. I said it. I don't like it. I don't like it. I think that Tulane or JMU, I'm glad they're in. Great story. I'm a Florida fan. It's nice to see John Sumrall in the playoff. These teams are not the best teams. You leave out a Notre Dame or a Vandy or a Texas in favor of these two teams, knowing that you reward Ole Miss and Oregon with a free curb stomping in the first round of the playoffs, right? And by default, any team that misses the playoff is on the outside looking in. They're going to bow out of their bowl game because their season's over. They got nothing to play for. So Notre Dame's going to say, "Hey, I don't want. Let's just not even play in the bowl game. Let's just call it quits." Right? It's ridiculous. It's too many teams. Now we can't shrink it. 12's an awkward number for sure. You might as well just make it 16. Might as well make it 30. Or let everyone in, right? I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. It's going to be must-see TV after the first round, of course, but we're going to start. We're going to predict it. I got a good feel on these games. I'm feeling confident with my picks, but I was also feeling confident about my college football playoff prediction from before the season started when I had Penn State and Clemson and Texas in the Final Four, right? So who really knows? First off, we're going to start top left here. JMU in Oregon. JMU, the beneficiary of a very wacky season in the ACC, 7-5, now 8-5 Duke, wins the conference, but they were ranked lower than five other conference champions. So the ACC champ does not make the playoff. We do get an ACC team in there, bottom left, with Miami jumping Notre Dame, which was the news of the week. And the correct call, might I add, which I think, the committee rates Notre Dame over Miami the whole year. And then at the end, they kind of try to save face because they know if they don't put any value on the head to head, the committee is screwed and we're going to go back to computers, which we should probably do anyway. But that's neither here nor there. JMU gets in as a conference champ because Duke was rated below them despite winning the ACC. If Virginia wins that game, JMU's not in. So that's interesting. JMU takes on an Oregon team that we watched quite a bit of early in the year. I know you guys watched Oregon Penn State. I know you watched Oregon Indiana. All eyes were on Oregon for a few weeks there. And, they handled business the rest of the way. I got eyeballs on them a little bit, but I didn't spend too much time watching Oregon because the only time they're going to be in the newspaper is if they lose. And by newspaper, I mean my phone. Right? So they go 11-1, lose to Indiana, but take care of business against everyone else. Didn't struggle. None of these games were in doubt coming down the stretch. They won them all, but maybe not the most beautiful football being played by Oregon. But Dan Lanning is one of the best coaches in America. The Billy Napier, well, he's not leading JMU yet, but the Billy Napier led James Madison Dukes in their last game before Billy Napier takes over is going to get beat by Oregon. That's just how it's going to be, because that's the way the cookie crumbles with this format. And, there's some other things I don't like as we go down this bracket. Oklahoma versus Alabama in this 8-9 matchup. Winner takes on the 1 seed Indiana Hoosiers. A rematch, the first of 2 rematches in the first round of this playoff. Oklahoma wins against Alabama in their regular season, and they're favored coming into this game. It's in Norman, which is huge. And I think the other one might have been in Norman too, but don't quote me on that. You get to play Alabama twice in your home stadium. It's a lot better than playing them, in the Peach Bowl, the Pop Tart Bowl, or the Fiesta Bowl. All right, sorry, my mind's scrambling around. Let's lock in on this game. Alabama just plays terribly against Georgia. -3 rush yards, and now you got to go play Oklahoma, who's not gonna, you know, may not have. It's a different brand of defense, but still in that upper echelon of teams like Georgia's defense is. Oklahoma's a defense that wreaks havoc, explosive defensive plays. They punch, they pick the ball off, they get sacks, whereas Georgia just breaks your will over the course of 60 minutes. They're going to take over a game. And I think, clearly it worked last time for Oklahoma. I think Alabama has to have some serious changes that need to happen with Ty Simpson in that offense if you're going to, be able to beat Oklahoma again. But I think you get it done. I think losing to Georgia was so demoralizing. Kalen DeBoer has one final game where he gets his boys up ready to play, and Alabama flips the script, beats Oklahoma, gets their shot at Indiana. Book it. And then, third game down on this list in this first round, Ole Miss plays Tulane, another rematch from the regular season, which is why they should have just flipped. Well, no, that doesn't make any sense. You should have flipped 6 and 7, really. I think Texas A&M deserves to be 6, and then you avoid that rematch. Ole Miss takes on Tulane. John Sumrall, again, probably a coach where this is his last game with his team, and of Ole Miss's first game with Pete Golding, right? So we'll see how this team looks when they come out, but an interesting coaching carousel type of game for those that have been following. But ultimately, overmatched talent-wise, Ole Miss hangs on to Charlie Weis, the offensive coordinator. I don't expect any downtick from the Ole Miss defense because Pete Golding gets promoted to the head job. So he's going to bring the fire. I mean, the guy is electric to watch. Backwards visor, Guy Fieri haircut. I showed you the picture on the last episode. Guy's nuts. I like that in the coach. Tulane, never know where John Summerall's head's at. He's coaching two different teams. He's going to give his all for Tulane. But talent-wise, I just don't think they stack up to the Ole Miss Rebels. Ole Miss wins, which will ultimately, they'll take on Georgia, our third, possibly 3 rematches or more in this college football playoff, something you kind of wish we avoided. Because then you get a game like bottom left here, Miami, Texas A&M, where it's a fun game. Probably the hardest game to predict in this first round. We haven't watched Miami in forever. Right, we watched them lose. Last time they were the headliner was one getting in, and before that it was them having 2 horrific losses and us seeing the dark side of Mario Cristobal, which we seemingly see twice every year. Right? So he's got to get the boys up against a Texas A&M team led by, for my estimation, a top 5 coach in America and Mike Elko. A&M, obviously, they didn't look terrible against Texas, but they didn't look like Texas looked like the better team in that regular season finale. So I just don't know what I'm going to get out of either of these teams. Like if you look at the 5-12, the 8-9, the 6-11, maybe other than like Alabama, I know what I'm going to get out of these teams. Like I feel confident that I know how these teams are going to come out and perform. Miami, Texas A&M, I have no clue, right? If Miami's really worth their salt, then they're going to match up in the trenches to this Texas A&M team. Marcel Reed has to be explosive. He's got to get out of the pocket. He's got to avoid getting sacked by Ruben Bain. Carson Beck needs to be surgical. Okay? These teams got to play the brand of football that got them there, and they have to play it well. Because, if you take each of these teams at their peak, these are top 3 teams. Like, we know what we can see in this game. It's going to be one of the most intriguing matchups in this first round. And then it'll create an even more intriguing matchup when the winner takes on Ohio State. Give me Oregon in the first round. They're top left. Bama, Oklahoma. Give me Alabama. Give me Ole Miss in the 6-11 matchup. And give me, I guess it doesn't really matter who I pick, but give me Texas A&M. Give me Texas A&M proving to Miami that they shouldn't have been there. How about that? Yeah, I said it. And if I'm going to be wrong about one of these, I'm going to be wrong about that one. And probably Alabama, Oklahoma. The other two, I feel good. And I feel good about the other two because it's Tulane and JMU, and we let them in the playoff. But whatever. Whatever. Oregon and Texas Tech. Everyone's saying what a great draw this is for Oregon. It's a Big 12 champ, 12-1 that lost to Arizona State, but won 12 games by 20 or more points. It's a team that's playing inspired football, Texas Tech is. Joey McGuire, a Texas high school football Hall of Famer. He bleeds Texas. He bleeds red. He's a Red Raider. He bleeds red. This Texas Tech team is fun to watch. They look like brothers out there. It is so entertaining to watch. I mean, they dominated BYU. BYU undefeated other than losing to Texas Tech twice. Like BYU, if they didn't play Texas Tech, is undefeated top four seed. But they ran into an absolute buzzsaw that Jacob Rodriguez is. And these linebackers, man, so fun. They're huge. They're bricks. They're literally Jacob Rodriguez is a brick of a person. He's got a six stash, and I cheer for a stash. And I think Texas Tech beats Oregon. And that's just not that's not because I'll be cheering for Texas Tech. That's because I think that's who's going to win the game. I think, especially with Oregon losing the coordinators, even if there's a slight downtick, and I don't know let's check out what the spread. Oh, well, no, that's a hypothetical matchup, so there's obviously no spread on that. But there might as well because that's obviously it's going to be a 4-5 matchup. Give me Texas Tech making it to the Final Four, the semis, taking on the winner of what I think will be Alabama versus Indiana. Indiana, everyone's cheering for him. Fernando Mendoza is my Heisman. He's a nerd, but also a maniac, but also a football savant with a rocket launcher attached to his right shoulder. And then his younger brother's going to come in and take over, maybe be better than him next year. It's going to be awesome. Indiana's so fun. I think, Kurt Cignetti, number 2 in the nation behind Kirby Smart, best coach. And you only give that distinction to Kirby Smart because he's won national titles, obviously. But with, I don't even know if Kirby Smart turns his program around like Kurt Cignetti has with Indiana. I just don't know if Kirby could do what Kurt did. But I also don't think Kurt could do what Kirby did. Two different coaches. Kirby, SEC by birth. Kurt Cignetti wins. Google him. And he was an Indiana guy. So it's a great fit up there. I think Indiana beats Alabama. I think Fernando Mendoza, I think he's very similar to Ty Simpson. I think if you silhouetted these two quarterbacks, I think you'd really think they were similar. Fernando Mendoza just hasn't shown us that he's going to have a game like Ty Simpson had against Georgia. You feel a little more confident in Fernando Mendoza. You feel a little bit more confident. I really think this receiving core is similar too. Ryan Williams, Jeremy Bernard, Isaiah Horton, a really good trio. Surratt and Omar Cooper for Indiana, really good. Like this is a really fun game. If it is Alabama that wins, which at this point probably not. I've thought myself into Alabama that there's no way that happens. But the talent profile for Alabama is so good, and then Indiana just is so good. And I think the luck runs out. I don't think Kalen DeBoer gets his boys up for this game. I think they're going to have another disappointing one, and it's a crash course for Indiana to win, take on Texas Tech in the semis for a spot in the national championship. Then give me a rematch between Ole Miss and Georgia that goes very similarly to how the first one went, except Ole Miss is going to stop scoring a little bit quicker than they did in the first game. In the first game, what was that 45-35 in that first game? I could be wrong there, But Georgia won 45-35 perhaps, and they didn't stop Ole Miss until the fourth quarter. And then they just had, two or three possessions that went perfectly to ultimately pull away and win that game by a score or two. I think, with the lack of Lane Kiffin and the drama surrounding that program, them kind of saying we were loading up for this year, but we lost our guy. I think Georgia's going to break their will. Kirby wants to kill these guys, I bet. He's probably mad that they won by as little as they did the first time. I also think Georgia's the best team in the country right now, or they're playing the best at least. Indiana beat Ohio State with their A-minus game. I think Georgia was firing on all cylinders A+ against Bama, and they dominated. And I think they do it again. They got time to prepare for an Ole Miss team. Got to figure out how to prepare for an Ole Miss team, right? Very new faces around there. Well, not new faces, just one giant face that's not there anymore. Georgia wins onto the semis. Then Ohio State, they're gonna take on Texas A&M. You just you gotta slow down Marcel Reed because he's explosive, but you slow down Fernando Mendoza. Indiana scored 13, right? I have blind confidence in this Ohio State defense that nobody's gonna score 17 on them. I honestly think Texas A&M might score 17 or 20, but I also think this is a defense that Ohio State's gonna score 30 on. I think this game looks a lot like Indiana and Oregon. Yeah, 30-20. The final score is 10 points, but it feels like more of a 3 or 7 point game. I think it's going to be fairly close, but Ohio State, Georgia, that's a matchup that has to happen. That's going to be so fun. So our semifinals are set. Texas Tech taking on Indiana, taking on, well, no, it's not a three-way game. That'd be ridiculous. Texas Tech taking on Indiana, Georgia taking on Ohio State. The 1, 2, 3, and 4 seeds survive, once again cementing my point that this playoff is too big because there's never going to be 12 teams good enough to win a national title. And the college football playoff crowns the national champion. So just put the teams that are capable of doing it in there. This year, it was probably, 8. Just do 8. And Tulane and JMU, it's cool. I can't get behind that. But also, the second you make like a separate playoff for the group of five, I would be very mad as a player playing for a group of five team if I couldn't, make the playoff. And I was like, oh, the playoff for who's second best. Fun. Yay. But that's not important. Texas Tech is going to take on Indiana. My two favorite teams. I love watching these teams. I think Texas Tech is legit. And I could be proved wrong immediately if Oregon just nails them in the second round. Yeah, I think I need to hedge. I think I need to hedge and just take Indiana here. Indiana time and time. He wins. Google him. He just wins. I think it's going to be Indiana. I like Fernando Mendoza to not necessarily. Sorry, guys. I don't like Fernando Mendoza to necessarily slice and dice against his Texas Tech defense because I think they're really good. However, I do think that Fernando Mendoza's. I think if you score 13 against Ohio State, you're scoring more than that in any other game. Okay, all right, we're back. Sorry, I apologize, guys. I like Fernando Mendoza to outduel Baron Morton here. I think the one position group I might give the advantage to Texas Tech is those linebackers. I don't think you're going to find a better one in the class. That edge room is pretty good too, but I think Indiana is really good at all three levels. And I think Texas Tech is going to have a hard time moving the ball at will. And I think Indiana is going to have maybe a few good special teams plays that get them in plus territory. And they're going to find their way to put points on the board, especially when you have a guy like Elijah Sarai who you can throw it up to. They proved that they'll throw it up to him even against Ohio State. And he's going to come down with it. I think Indiana wins that game. Now we get down to Georgia versus Ohio State. I think Kirby Smart is inevitable. I think with Ohio State, you kind of It's like no matter how good Ohio State is and how good of a year they have, they're not going to go undefeated. You're going to lose to a horrible Michigan team and then win the Big Ten and run the table, or you're going to beat Michigan finally, but lose. You go 12 and 0, and now you're 12 and 1. Is there a worse record to be than 12 and 1 and ending on a loss? It's got to be the worst because you were perfect. Then you got to, a championship game and you lose. It's kind of how it works to Ohio State. I think with Georgia, you have to find a way to limit. Like, Jeremiah Smith can have 5 catches, but he can't have 9, and he can't have 10. And Cardell Tate can have 5. He can't have 9. He can't have 10. You can't be letting. You can't. You have to let Julian Sane kill you with Brandon Innes, who's also really good in his own right. Let him kill you with Jelani Thurman. Why am I saying Jelani Thurman? Because I think he's on the team, but I don't think that's their main guy. You guys give me a sec here. Oh, Will Kakmarak? Sure, buddy. Oh, Max Clare. That's who it is. Oh, Jelani Thurman is on the team. Ball knowledge. Look at me having the third string Ohio State tight end in my bag. That's because he's a Georgia guy. Georgia high school football, baby. Yeah. Make him kill you with Max Clare. Make Julian Saint kill you with Max Clare and Brandon Innes. Don't let Jeremiah Smith and Cardell Tate take over this game. That's what you got to do on defense if you're Georgia. And you got to get to the passer like you did against Alabama. It was really impressive. They finally had a really good day rushing the passer. And it also helps that Ty Simpson was playing like this, I guess. I guess he would just like take the snap and go like this and try to complete the pass because he played terribly. Started in the dirt. Looked like me out there. And then Georgia offensively, you know, this is a team that they find their way down the field. I have Nate Frazier, really good TikToker, probably an even better running back. But really think, and I think Gunner, he put together a little Heisman campaign. He's not going to win it, but he put together a little Heisman campaign. Excuse me, stuffy. Probably sound terrible, like I already said. I think Georgia takes down Ohio State, though. And then you get Georgia versus Indiana. And man, I am going to be pulling for Indiana so unbelievably hard. I just don't want Kirby to get 3 in 5 years. It'd be a real bummer. Be a real bummer. That means in the last half decade, Kirby Smart has most of them, which is ridiculous to say. Georgia, the last dynasty, perhaps. I mean, look at the teams that are in the playoff. Texas Tech and A&M and Ole Miss finally making playoffs. There's parity. But I'm just gonna say we wanted parity and we got it. Now we gotta go figure out how to fix a horrendous playoff, how to fix the bowl system, how to fix the calendar, how to fix NIL, how to fix the transfer portal, how to fix poaching coaches and leaving before the season's over. But at least you got parity, right? Yeah, I'm cheering for Indiana, but I'm gonna pick Georgia. So I'm uh, either my heart's happy or my digital footprint is correct. But yeah, I think other than that, that's all I got. I appreciate you. Love you. Bye.